Usually I decide what match I'm going to cover specifically, but I looked at the order of play, day 6 of the 2023 Australian Open, and I saw the night session. That's where most of the matches that I was really interested in were, and they were all going to be at the same time. So I didn't really know what to do. I wanted to watch all of them, and I did. And I'm just like, let me feel this out, figure it out, and turns out I'm just going to talk about all of them. It delivered, by the way. These matches were awesome. It is very late. It is 4 a.m. where I'm at. And it was really hard to feel tired because a lot of this tennis was electric. All right. We had Djokovic against Dimitrov. We had Murray against Bautista Agut. We had Poprin against Shelton. And we had Caroline Garcia against Laura Siegmund. I'm going to give some thoughts on every single match that went down on this day 6 night session in Australia. First, I think Andy Murray won the night. He lost his match. I thought he won the night. There was nobody who impressed me tonight more than Andy Murray impressed me, because he comes into the match with a couple of lead blocks for legs. 10.5 hours on court combined in the first and the second round for Andy Murray. And in the first set, he couldn't move, looked painful. He was stiff as a board. And I just was worrying, like, all right, here we have a clunker. You know, Andy's got nothing in the tank, and this is not going to be a good match. And all of the fans inside Margaret Court Arena are unfortunately going to be dealing with a dud tonight. And the heart of Andy Murray, despite probably knowing in his heart of hearts that he wasn't going to win this match, and if he did win the match, he had no chance to win the next one after that, because it was the third round and his legs were already done because of what he had to do in the prior 2 matches. And he still fought and scrapped and clawed for every single inch and every single point, and he was in pain, and he just didn't care. He gave these fans an absolute show, and it went from being concerned about that match being an absolute stinker to, you know what? I thought they got the best show out of anybody tonight. You could have been Kia Arena, John Cain Arena, Rod Laver Arena, or Margaret Court, and I think that Murray RBA match was the best ticket tonight, despite Murray clearly being severely compromised. I mean, this guy goes by a warrior code that I am absolutely blown away by, and it did not waver tonight, even though it had every reason to waver tonight. So I wanted to start there because I'm sorry, but nobody impressed me more tonight than Andy Murray. By the way, RBA, nightmare matchup in this situation. Andy wants to keep the points short, and the biggest enemy, the antithesis of point shortening, is depth. And Bautista Agut is in the elite tier of men's tennis in ground stroke depth. It's right alongside his fitness and his consistency what makes him so good. He keeps the ball deep in the court. I love these conditions for RBA. He is in the quarter of opportunity. He always plays well in January and February, start of the season, coming out of the offseason. 8 of his 12 career titles have come this time of year. A lot to like about the situation he's in. And I'll make another video talking more about this quarter 4 in which RBA is the only seed remaining. Coverage of the Australian Open is brought to you by BetUS. For this year's AO, play with America's favorite sportsbook and get $125 extra on your first deposit using the link in the description and the promo code GIL. Djokovic Dimitrov next. I said that every Djokovic match is going to be an adventure from here on out, and this match was definitely that, especially in the first set, which was back and forth. It swung a couple of times. That was the set where Novak really struggled physically. It was much better in the second and the third set, but Novak's movement was really up and down, mostly down in this opening set, and Dimitrov still couldn't find a way through. But in the second and the third set, and I'll assess Grigor's performance in a moment, but in the second and the third set, Djokovic's movement was a positive. So that's also kind of what we saw against Enzo Cuoco, where the third and the fourth sets were better. So Novak seems to be, as he warms up and kind of digs his teeth into the match, and I don't know that this time it was aided by any kind of medication. I mean, at least during the match. Unless I could be mistaken on that, but I didn't see him take tablets. It does seem like this gets better as he goes, so I suppose that's a positive. And I also do feel like when Novak needs to push himself and he needs that extra, as uncomfortable as it might be for him, I do think that he is actually finding what he needs in those moments. If I were to put a number on it, I thought second and third set, the movement was at 90%. So was the sprint speed all the way there? Was the sliding all the way there? No. But I do think he was moving comfortably around the back of the court, at least with a semblance of freedom and some agility and some explosiveness. I thought it was about 90%. And by the way, 90% Djokovic movement, that's good movement. And his defense was a big factor in the second and third set. It's not like Novak needed to be on the front foot playing aggressive tennis in order to have success. He could defend, very much so. He was playing tennis at all three levels: offense, neutral, defense. Still a lot of reactions and stretching between points. And by the way, there's a psychological thing there. Like, I'm sure it's kind of tough on Grigor when you are losing to a guy. You are literally down 2-0 against a guy, and he does not look good between points or at changeovers, and he's stretching, and there's a lot going on the other side of the court, and you have to just try to have tunnel vision and not think about it, not get upset at yourself for the situation you're in, like, how am I, what's going on here. You really got to try to block it out. And then for Djokovic, it's arguably the only positive here mentally is that it is kind of a distraction where it takes a little bit of pressure off, because you're thinking about just kind of surviving and getting through this thing physically. You're not, I guess it almost like lowers the expectations about kind of what the tournament is, right? Novak's at a place here where he's like, I just hope I survive, and I don't know, it's not so good, the hamstring's bad, where if the hamstring was fine, he'd be like, oh, I better win this thing, this is mine to win. So it's a little bit different psychologically, some things change there, and that's something to keep in mind. For Dimitrov, I thought he served well. I thought his forehand was good. He never allowed his forehand to get passive, which I liked. But the backhand killed him. Backhand was a horror show, especially in the first set. He made 10 backhand unforced errors in the first set, and that was the moment where Djokovic was not good, and Dimitrov should have won that first set, but he made 10 backhand unforced errors in the first set. For the match, backhand unforced, 23 for Dimitrov, 4 for Djokovic, and we're looking at a backhand for Grigor. Like, it'd be one thing if Stan or Team or Korda made, over 20 backhand unforced errors. At least if you're looking at a backhand like that, at least you're getting offense out of it too. At least they're hitting it big. They're making positive things happen on the backhand. Grigor, that's not even the case. Like, if he's going to be at 23 backhand unforced errors, he's not going to come anywhere near making up the difference in winners and forced errors. He's not going to come close. So it was not good. I also thought that Grigor is just not quite inventive enough in these kinds of situations against top players. Did he ever, use his forehand drop shot? No. Was there any serve and volley? No. Did he ever try to play high and heavy instead of, hitting every ball so straight and flat? No, never. So that was another kind of critique I have. And also just not clutch. Like, 2 break points early in the third set and misses a backhand slice, misses a second serve return on the forehand. He wasn't making Novak play enough in these big moments. which is a big problem. The last stat I'll throw out on this one, just to give an understanding of what happened in this match. The biggest advantage for Djokovic was rallies 9 shots or more. Novak won that category 34-17, which was, pretty significant. Unforced errors in those rallies alone were 18-5. Man. So that tells you that essentially long rallies, Dimitrov first to miss. That's how it was going. Boom. Popper and Shelton. They put this on John Cain Arena to try to get the craziest atmosphere possible, right? Shelton seemed to love it. Like, that was the whole idea here. You had Alex de Minaur winning on Rod Laver Arena in the day session, saying, everybody get your behinds to John Cain and let's push Poppy over the hump. And it is this crazy Aussie atmosphere. And Shelton was like, cool, this is fun. He kind of seemed in his element. What will happen to some players when the crowd's against them is they will start to become very reserved. They will hold in their positive energy. They will allow the crowd, which is not giving them any positive energy, to dictate how they're going about their business. Shelton did not do that. Shelton was very vocal and very positive. So in this environment, which was a hostile environment, Shelton did not let that affect him at all, which was very admirable. And I don't know, you think about college tennis, like, was this about having the experience of, like, playing against Georgia, like Florida, Georgia, and these environments, like in college tennis, they're pretty brutal. Like, they're tough. It's noisy, it's chaotic, and Shelton has experience in that kind of atmosphere, so I think that kind of helps him. Not to mention, he's got a little bit more game than Alexei, and this was a very tough turnaround for Popyrin. I mean, that win over Fritz was so emotional. You saw how much it meant to him. After the year that he had last season, which was a terrible, terrible season, it just felt like that was very, very, very intense emotionally for Popyrin. It was going to be kind of tough to come back in 2 days from that and potentially have the same hunger, drive, focus that would be required. But again, I also think Shelton has a better backhand. He's got a better return, more volleying, and I'm not surprised that Ben won this match. Garcia Siegmund. My point to make on this one is Garcia, I've watched her last 2 matches now. I watched the match against Leylah Fernandez. 2 biggest points of Caroline Garcia's tournament thus far. The first one was down set point against Leylah Fernandez in the second set, 30-40, serving at 4-5. And I can't remember if Garcia hit an ace or a service winner. I believe it was a service winner. So she saves that set point, wins the next 2 points with big serves, and then goes on a run to win that second set 7-5. Here, Siegmund wins the second set. Frankly, didn't expect this to go 3, but it did. And Garcia is up a set, and again, it's a 30-40 scoreline. And, Siegmund, hold on. Man, I don't often sneeze during a video. That's rare. It's 30-40. Siegmund could be, 4-all in the third set, and Garcia hits an ace. So all I got to say about that, top 3 serve in women's tennis, coming through under pressure, 2 biggest points of her tournament, and she's gotten the serves. Love to see it if you're Caroline Garcia. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.